Welcome back to Speaking Spurs with me, Kieran, talking all things Tottenham. And unfortunately, we're talking about another defeat to Chelsea. So this is our fourth defeat to Chelsea in the space of a season. The last time we were defeated four times by a team in a season was against Chelsea about 20 years ago. So look, we lost this game 2-0 in the Premier League. We've had the Carabao Cup defeats as well. So that's three times within the space of a month as well. Hakim Ziyech and Thiago Silva are the goal scorers. It is what it is. It was frustrating, but at the same time, I kind of understand what Conte was trying to do. So far, we've played pretty much the same against them each time with slightly different personnel on the pitch. This time round, he tried a different formation, and it seemed to be working for a while. But the problem is, because we weren't the first team to have a goal allowed, we were the first team to score. Because we didn't have one allowed, it kind of changed the emphasis of the game once Chelsea scored. It meant that we needed a secondary plan, which we didn't really have. It was just a case of changing personnel. So there's now an 11-point gap between Chelsea and us in the race for Champions League football. This was a chance for us to really, make a challenge to put ourselves further within in the talk. But look, Conte's been undefeated so far in the Premier League. At some point, he was going to lose a game. And if you're going to lose, it might as well be against one of the big boys. Chelsea have had a bit of a hard time of things recently. At some point, that was going to have to turn round. And of course, it was going to be against us. Ziyech, what a goal. Ziyech is a player that I very much wanted and was disappointed when we didn't go in for him and he ended up at Chelsea. He's not been incredible since he's been at Chelsea. He's been very hit and miss, but this goal was absolutely top draw. When you watch it at full pace, it looks like Lloris had no chance. But then when I watch it in slow motion, for some reason, you see Lloris look up, and I'm a bit like, does he think it's going over? But then when you watch it in full time, you realise it's just a case of he's got no time to react. Ziyech is very clever in the fact that where he takes the shot, he's actually behind three Spurs players that are blocking Lloris's view. So it was never going to happen. And then Thiago Silva's header. It was from a needless free kick. Didn't need to give it away. It happened. You knew the second that ball was whipped in where it was going. Sanchez didn't get quite tight enough for that. And you actually see when it comes off Thiago Silva's head, Sanchez has jumped up in the air and his boot is essentially next to his head. If Thiago Silva misses the ball, then Sanchez is making the clearance. But, you need to be going in with your head as well at the same time. So, we lost 3-0 on aggregate in the Carabao Cup. We lose 2-0 this time round. Chelsea, they kind of dominated us for large portions of the game. We just defended really well, absorbed it. It was nice to have Eric Dyer back in the squad. I think that helped steady the ship a little bit. But unfortunately, it just wasn't. It wasn't what we wanted. I wanted that three-man defence, and instead, what we had was a back four, and then our midfield was just ultra defensive. And I get it. I understand completely what Conte was trying to do. It was like ultra pragmatic. It was like a Mourinho on steroids performance. But look, ball in the back of the net, should it have been given? In my opinion, yes. I can understand the whole referee thinking it's a foul. Thiago Silva has used all his experience to take the contact, the very little contact there was, and made an absolute meal of it, which meant the referee gives it as no goal, and VAR, it's not a clear and obvious error, so therefore they're not going to overturn it, or encourage the referee to overturn it. And this is my issue with VAR. What is the difference between an error and a clear and obvious error? To me, there isn't a difference. The fact is, if it's an error, it's clear and obvious the second you look at it. It's either an error or it's not. I don't get this grey area in between to protect the referee's integrity. And I think it's not. If you're not giving the referee an opportunity to go over and look at it himself, then how are referees ever going to learn from these mistakes? But you know what I mean? Even Gary Neville thought that it should have been allowed. Like he was, and then Roy Keane was saying, no, 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 it's moaning about it, saying that there's contact, it's a push, blah, blah, blah. He was meant to be one of the toughest guys in the game, and he's moaning about this, saying that he completely agrees the goal shouldn't have stood. But you know what? The plan was working up until that point. They got their goal, and it kind of just went to pot a little bit. I mean, it was just a difficult one. Like when you look at the lineup, so Lloris in goal, obviously, and then you have the back line of Dyer and Sanchez in the centre. Got no problems with that. Sanchez has stepped up massively so far this season. Dyer had been great, obviously injured, come back, great news. But then Tanganga at right back, wasn't really keen on that. He's been very iffy in his games when he's come in as the right-sided centre-back. Then Davies out at left-back. And look, I'm sorry, Davies has been great as a left-sided centre-back. I don't want to see him back out at left-back. I don't want him far away from what's going on. He reads the game much better when he's centrally. Obviously, he hasn't got the pace to come up against certain wingers. And I felt like he was just ineffective in the game. It was one of his worst games, and it's not really his own fault. He's just been put back in a position that he shouldn't be in. So they made up the defence. And then when you look into midfield, Winks, fair enough. Højbjerg, fair enough. Out on the left, Sessegnon. Do you know what? I haven't got too many problems with that because in my eyes, I don't think he's a left back. He can play as a left winger. Obviously, not hit his full stride because of injuries that have disrupted the whole time he's been at Spurs. Then you've also got the fact that he can do left wing back. So I've got no problems with him being on that side. Doherty on the other side, it was kind of a bit of a strange one. But again, I understand it. Out of him and Royale, he's slightly better in my head defensively. I genuinely think Doherty is a better defender, but he can also attack. Look, he hasn't got the quality of the final ball, but neither's Emerson Royale. Is what it is. And then up front you have Bergwijn and Kane. Again, no problems with that. Like the lineup, I kind of understand it. You've got Sessegnon who can play as a defender, so he can help Ben Davies out. Doherty can help Tanganga out. Completely understand it. I've got no problems with it whatsoever. It just didn't work because it meant we were looking to hit them on the break. Essentially, that was the plan. Absorb the pressure, defend well, hit them on the break. And we did that really well for large parts of the first half. When you look at our bench, Lucas Moura, Brian Hill, Dane Scarlett, Rodon, Skip, Emerson, Reguilon, Galini and Harvey White. So Ndombele is still nowhere to be seen, training on his own. There's links, massive links to PSG. It's just a case of we're trying to find somebody. They want to do a swap deal, basically, but there's no one in their squad that really wants to come to Spurs. I completely understand it. Champions League football, pushing for trophies in their own league, going to win the league. So why would you want to come to an outfit like Spurs? Understand it, completely understand it. And financially, they can offer more wages than we can. So that makes sense. Rodon, Tanganga's had to play right back, but I don't understand why we still couldn't have gone with a three at the back with Dyer, Sanchez and Rodon. Tanganga's been a liability the last few games. I don't get why Rodon can't get himself a game. There must be some reason. He's obviously not training well compared to the others. But, Reguilon and Lucas Moura, Skip, they're all players that could have started, but Skip and Moura certainly, it was told that they picked up knocks in the game against Leicester. That's the reason why they had to start on the bench. And the guys that did come off the bench were Moura, Hill and Skip. But I don't know. It was one of them where if you're going to lose, you might as well lose to somebody like Chelsea that are up there. We're probably not going to catch them. They were always going to turn their form around. You've just got to look at their squad. So their lineup, Kepa in goal, Sarr, Silva, Rudiger as Pulaqueta in defence, Kovacic, Jorginho and Mount in midfield, and then the attacking trio of Hudson-Odoi, Lukaku and Ziyech. Now that's just the players on the pitch. Then when you look at the bench, Kante is on the bench. Alonso comes off. Barkley, all right, Barkley's not top Premier League quality talent anymore, but he's still effective in games. He can still do something. Chalobah, Bettinelli, Werner, Havertz, Pulisic, Niguez. They've got players that can hurt. That is a much superior bench to the one we've got. Obviously, we know Sonny's obviously out with an injury at the moment, so that impacts ours. But it's just worlds apart at the end of the day. And hopefully we get some transfers over the line, and Conte is backed. But look, that was pretty much the game in a nutshell. Yellow cards to players. Tanganga, they reckoned he could have been sent off, but then you look at it, so could have Thiago Silva. It was one of them games, so I don't mind too much in that sense. I don't mind players being a bit aggressive in games. Tanganga, I just think, is a bit of a liability in games. Like, he's going to get himself booked. And the problem is, once he got himself booked, he just wasn't getting tight to Hudson-Odoi whatsoever, and that created problems for him. It created problems for us because it meant we were just going to keep getting attacked down that side. But let's talk about all of the players individually, player ratings. So Hugo Lloris comes away with a 7. He made a couple of flying saves in each half. Couldn't do much about Ziyech's goal. Great curling strike. And then Silva's header, couldn't do much about that either. He denied Hudson-Odoi with a diving header outside his own box. Odoi had broke through. Lloris just comes flying out. The ball did collide into Doherty, but he recovered from that. He saved from Lukaku and rushed out of the feet of Mount to deny him. Busy second half in the goal. We just invited pressure on. So a good performance from him. Tanganga comes away with a 4. I mean, this seems to be a recurring score for him. Another shaky performance from him. Picked up the yellow card, as I said, for the foul. And it just left him walking a tightrope. He was taken off just before the hour mark. If it was me, I'd have taken him off at half time, put Doherty back there and brought Moore on. And I think we just left it a little bit too late in the game. Sanchez, come out with a 5. It wasn't his best game, but, for me, the problem is it's just a change of system, and that does affect the defence. Like, he's had to play different roles already this season anyway. He's had to play on the right of the 3, and he's been playing centrally the last few games, which is different for him. But look, as I said, he didn't get close enough to Silva for Chelsea's second goal. He got turned by Lukaku on quite a few occasions. I just think he was a bit too tight to Lukaku. Luckily, Lukaku's just not himself at the moment, isn't banging in the goals. Eric Dyer, it was nice to have him back in the side. He comes away with a 7. He made some really good blocks in the game. A number of tackles, headers. Few moments of rustiness, but that's to be expected coming back from injury. I thought he brought some steel to the team. He was calm. The free kick, he was deemed to have the one that he gave away for the second goal. When you watch it in real time, doesn't really look like a free kick, but when you slow it down, the referee was correct. It was a free kick. Dyer just got his body right across, and I think just the strength of his legs is what created the foul before he then turned inside to get the ball. But, on the whole, I'm thankful to have him back. I just wish we'd have played the 3 in the defence to give him that little bit of support in his first game back and to help out Sanchez, who's been used to a new system. And then Ben Davies at left back. Didn't offer too much going forward. Didn't do anything spectacular at the back either, so he comes away with a 6. Doherty playing as a right winger. He comes away with a 5. I actually thought he was superb when he came on against Leicester, but this position just didn't suit him. At the end of the day, he had to focus a little bit defensively, but didn't know whether to go forward. So I think he was in two minds for a lot of the game. So yeah, comes away with a 5. Final ball again lacking. On the other side, Ryan Sessegnon also comes out with a 5. He had one first half chance that he completely scuffed across the box. He neither did a cross or shot in the end. But again, like Doherty, just lacked the quality and didn't make much of an impact in those advanced roles. Harry Winks, he comes away with a 6. Ran through into space before the 15-minute mark, sent a low shot at goal that Kepa saved. More entitled to go for that. There was a ball onto Sessegnon that he did ignore. He came off with 10 minutes to go. But he fought hard in the centre of the pitch. But it was a system where we knew we were going to have them come on us. So creatively, we knew we weren't going to get much out of these midfield players. So they're not really to blame for this. Højbjerg also comes away with a 6. Less impact than he had against Leicester. Again, it's because Chelsea had so much of the ball in midfield. They were having to do all this defensive work, weren't getting the time creatively. We didn't have the outlets because on the right, you've got Doherty, not used to playing as a traditional right midfielder. On the left, Sessegnon coming in and out from injury. Bergwijn is obviously more used to playing out wide. So in a central role, he's just getting used to it. And then Kane loves to drop deep. So the link-up play wasn't quite there anyway. But yeah, Højbjerg was not as good as he was against Leicester. You know, but yeah, he comes away with a 6 as well. Steven Bergwijn, he gets a 7. I thought he looked like a player with confidence. So those 2 goals in the last game obviously helped him. He was turning well. He was trying to run at Chelsea's defence in the first half. His run was the one that actually led to Kane's disallowed goal. Before he had a couple of efforts of his own, which Kepa saved. You know, he was bright. And on another day, he might have scored some goals. He looked shattered by the end of the game as well. He'd run his socks off in that. So 7 for him. And Kane also comes away with a 7. Obviously, ball in the back of the net. But apparently the push was just too much. Disallowed goal. Tried to make things happen. Tested Kepa with the header from the corner late on. But yeah, he and Bergwijn, they had way too much to do. Not enough support around them. Just because those players aren't used to playing those positions. Højbjerg and Winks couldn't get forward too much. It is what it is. So let's talk about the subs. Lucas Moura comes on. Only a 5 for him. I think that knock from the Leicester game affected him a little bit. Couldn't make much of an impression from the bench, but I thought he was brought on too little too late. Skippy comes away with a 6. He was another one with a knock from the midweek game. I thought when he came on, good energy as usual. Brought a bit of extra drive. But yeah, running, tackling, typical Skippy performance. And then Brian Hill, he just replaced Winksy with 10 minutes to go. Not really enough time to get a score in my book. But you know what? We fight on. It's not the end of the day. We were going to lose some games at some point. And, this was just one of them. So, look, we are still very much in the hunt for top 4. Teams around us, not exactly setting the world alight. West Ham have started to struggle. Arsenal, it's going to be a tight one. But even Wolves themselves, they are very much in this hunt for the top 4. They're going about it very quietly, chipping away. I've been very impressed with them this season. So expect it to be a nice tight one. Teams are still going to drop points, but we've got plenty of points that we can gain. Hopefully we get some players in and that will really push us on to the next level. So that's my thoughts on the game. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts, whether you agreed with what I've said, disagreed, players you were impressed with, who you would have liked to have seen. Do you think playing a different formation would have brought us any more luck in this game? Let me know. But thanks for sticking around. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to support it with a like. And I will be putting out another video probably today. I'm going to record it in a minute. Why not? I'm going to do a transfer update. So there'll be bits about Adama Traore, some of the other guys we've been linked with that are a bit underwhelming in the last week and my thoughts on that. So take care. And until that video, come on you Spurs.